So we would be looking at the paraprofessionals that currently staff the library and the computer labs. Our school system has one full-time librarian, and the libraries in the 5 buildings are supported by paraprofessionals as well as our computer labs. In taking the paraprofessionals out of those areas, students would have less access to the library and to the computer labs. When the students are in those types of activities is when the teachers have their contractual prep time. So moving forward, we've been trying to move in the area of instructional technology. When we introduce smart boards into the classroom, we really need to equip and educate the teachers on how to integrate it into the program. We do that through instructional technology staff, as well as the staff that would manage our network. It's a very bare bones staff, but we would cut that back. Along with the smart boards, that would be postponing 21st century skills, postponing technology in the kids' education. We would take a look at professional development. We do have a minimum requirement that we have to spend based on the number of staff, but we would look to decrease professional development in areas that we can, and that's really a hard hit for a school district, because what we try to do on the local level is personalize our education to meet the needs of our children. Certainly the state comes down with education mandates, but it's a canned type of education, and education is not one size fits all. What we do in our professional development with teachers that look at our test scores, they look at areas of weakness and areas of strength, and they collaborate, and they look down the road to see what class is coming up to their level and how to meet their needs, and they help transition teachers that move on, all because they have an understanding of our kids' individual and unique needs on the local level. And to take that away will just mean that personal types of educational needs would not be business as normal as you see it now in our system. And then, of course, with the announcing of 3 of our administrators moving on, there could be some administrative savings. We don't really have an idea yet of what it will cost to bring in a new special ed director or assistant vice principal at the high school or a principal at the elementary level. We do know, after having gone through a superintendent search, that there is a very big deficit for qualified administrators in the state of Massachusetts, maybe beyond. And that in order to get what we're used to, quality staff, we're not going to be able to offer them bottom line numbers. There's just so many positions open. And North Reading does have a desirable school system, but we've got to target a range that will bring the best to our system. So those are the areas that could get our gap from $324,000 down to 0. The big one, of course, is the teachers. And while we do not and will not identify teachers by name or by grade level, because those teachers deserve to be notified first, we will ask our principals to talk about what the impact would be. But I'm going to put out 3 areas. For instance, if we were to lose 2 teachers at the elementary level, class sizes will soar. Right now we meet our target range, and to take 2 elementary teachers out could take 2 classes of 25, an average of 25, and put them into existing classes. And if we eliminate the paraprofessionals to support the teachers, then what we could experience are more ed plans and more disruption in the classroom. And certainly we've heard from parents just as recently as last month questioning the kindergarten size at the Hood School. We have ranges, and we think they're reasonable ranges. We would exceed those ranges. If we were to look at eliminating 2 teachers at the middle school, we've got a team approach at the middle school. For instance, in the 6th grade, we've got teams, but we've got a new concept where there are a team of 2. that are addressing certain needs with students that are struggling in some areas. We could take those teachers away, and those students would go back into the regular ed classrooms, increasing those sizes beyond acceptable levels, up in the 28 range. Without the paraprofessional support, we will probably see many of those students leave our system for outplacement. And I just opened this evening by saying one of the areas we finally got a handle on is our special education cost. It's been a deliberate move in this district to keep our kids in our schools, not just because of the money, but because that's where they belong and that's where they thrive with their peers and with the support that all the kids enjoy. We would be taking steps backwards, and that would be a shame. Most of the candidates that interviewed for the superintendent's role commented on our inclusion model. It would be a shame that we would lose that for the sake of 2 teachers at the middle school level. And then if we were to eliminate 2 teachers at the high school level, my guess is you would hear a request to reduce your graduation requirements. A couple of years ago, when we had that notorious half-day Wednesdays at the elementary and middle school, we reduced electives at the high school, which we have yet to restore. If we were to eliminate electives, those kids will only increase classes that are already in the 30. It's not fair to continually take away electives and tell kids to opt for another music or another art class and drive those programs up to 30 when there are kids that intend to go on into a career in art and music and they're not getting that kind of quality education. It's not fair to kids that want to take a different type of elective because they have an interest in going in college and they want to explore that interest at a high school level. We can't continue to cut electives and increase class sizes at the high school level. We would probably reduce the graduation requirements in order to maintain classes that are already too high. So those aren't the positions that are up for elimination. That's just an idea of what would happen if we were to consider reductions across the board. And that's it. And it's that, we come here every year, and the difference this year in talking about reductions is that we've already laid out a level services budget, which we know just gets us by. We do a great job, but it's nothing special. And we've already identified areas where we can get some offsets, albeit one-time offsets. When we're talking about positions, this is real. North Reading does a great job at educating its students. We will continue to do a great job. But when we start eliminating classroom teachers, we are going to the core of what we provide kids with. And that service with a quality teacher and time to address individual needs. So,
I just wanted to comment on potentially cutting staff at the high school and middle school level. If you saw the enrollment charts, that's where we have our big bubble right now. John Fauché, coming into the middle school this year, I believe he implemented, or maybe it was last year, but the new 6th grade concept where it's basically a school within a school. And I think the 6th grade is on the 2nd floor, John, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And it seems to be working really well. It's not like we're keeping the kids walled off from the rest of the school, but we're educating them in an environment where they're more comfortable and they don't have to spend as much time with the 7th and 8th graders who are off in their, in their classes together, or in areas that are together. I think if we cut 2 teachers at the middle school, we might have to do away with that program. John Bernard at the high school came to us about 2 months ago, and I don't know how he was doing this, but he proposed about a dozen new classes. He proposed adding to the foreign language program with honors courses, with additional years, and he was going to do all that with existing staff, adding marketing courses and courses that would really help our kids moving forward, whether they go to college or whether they go into business. I don't believe John's going to be able to do that if we cut teachers at the high school. I think it would make it very difficult. Is that correct, John? So I look at those two places and I say, you just can't cut there. And you look at the elementary and you can't cut six teachers at the elementary level. That would be impossible. So we're in a situation where, and as Maureen said, the Selectmen Finance Committee, we have great working relationship, and they've always come to the rescue in the past. However, the last 2 years have been extremely difficult, and this year is more difficult than last year. I don't even want to think about next year. And that's one thing I just wanted to jump ahead to fiscal 2012, just so you know what we're going to be facing. Over the last 2 years, we've gotten approximately $1.3 million in ARA funds. That includes the special education funds and then the plain old ARA. We're looking at taking $100,000 out of the SEAM special education fund that we have, and that'll pretty much empty that fund, correct?
Yes.
Next year, we'll start building it up again, but it'll only be about $9,000 or $10,000, and that comes from some credits we get when there's kids from the SEAM collaborative that are in our schools. Instead of tuition, they put the money into that escrow account for us, and they also rent space at our schools. So that's about $1.4 million. We're not going to see the major savings in retirement attrition every year of $100,000. So that's about $1.5 million. And that's just a start. None of that money is going to be there next year unless the state steps up to the plate with an adequacy study and funds Chapter 70 adequately. So if you think we have a struggle tonight, and for Enru and Stand, the struggle next year is going to be a lot more difficult, and I'm glad you guys are still there, pounding on the doors at the State House, because we're going to need all the help we can get.
In addition, our contracts for next year are 1.75.
Right.
So we'll have the contractual increase as well.
We do also negotiate, this coming year, we'll be negotiating with all of our employee groups except for teachers. So those contracts will all be coming up next year, and the teachers will be 1.75 in fiscal 2012.
Which is an increase of how much, though? How much, about $500,000?
This year, it's about $500,000 because they get 1% plus a step and a half. Next year, I assume it'll be about $500,000 again at 1.75 plus a step. Yeah.
$2 million.
Pardon me?
So these
Oh.
Overall comprehensive.
we should look at probably $2 million.
$2 million, right, yeah.
And that's in the years without enrollment growth. So that's why we need to really get a handle on what an annual school budget increase, and how to budget that, is 4 to 6%. We work closely in a finance planning team meeting, and one of the areas that the town is experiencing rapid growth is health insurance. We're budgeting 11% increase in our health insurance, and I just really need the community to understand that the Board of Selectmen is trying everything they can to offer different plans to control the cost for these benefits, and we really need to get behind them and doing what's right for our employees, but what's affordable for our town. Because that's an escalating cost year after year, and we can't continue. That's what's taking a lot of the money away from not just the school department, but the general government department as well, because fixed costs are paid before the funds are split. And it's an area that's out of control, not just in North Reading, but healthcare across the state. And we really need to make sure that we have some local control, that we have some rights on the local level to implement affordable health care plans while being fair to our employee groups. And that's something that I know our Board of Selectmen and our Finance Committee is working very hard at doing. And we need to support them in that area. Anyone else on the committee like to? Bob?
In the process of making estimates, what numbers are you using for teachers?
A salary?
In terms of delta, you mean? Or,
What is it?
I think the answer to your question, Bob, is we're using about an average of $50,000, so if there's 6 teachers left, it'd be $300,000. But then you have to figure in unemployment and all the other stuff.